those students are thrilled to be here tonight to present to you what they have been doing this semester, the 1 day a week. And again, this is something that works great K through 12. This is not just a high school thing. So first, I know we got a couple other teachers looking to try this next school year. But here I'm going to turn it over to Aaron Babb, who's going to lead us off.
Okay. I did my Genius Hour project over a dirt bike engine rebuild. I did this because I've had several dirt bikes in the past, and I've never known how to work on them ever. So I've always watched my friend Channing's dad always work on these dirt bikes, and I always thought it was pretty cool how he would just sit here and crank all these bolts off and do all this stuff. I don't know how he does it, but maybe he could teach me how to do it. So I decided to do it over this small engine, and I wanted to learn it myself. So here we go. The project overview. We did a complete carb cleaning and rebuild. If you don't know what a carburetor is, on a dirt bike, it's where the gas and air goes through to give the engine, fire, pretty much life to go. So we cleaned that out because it's been sitting for 4 years. Brought that into Mr. Kelley's room one day, and we sat there and worked on it for a whole class period, about an hour, and cleaned it all out and got it put back on the bike. We dismantled the engine and looked at all the parts on the outside and trying to find what was wrong with the engine. We were almost positive it was a top end that needed to be rebuilt because there was no combustion. Every time you kickstart, no combustion, probably top end. But we dismantled it and checked just to see if there was anything out of the ordinary. After that, we dismantled the top end and then started, looking at that, seeing if there was anything wrong with the cylinder wall or stuff like that. And then we figured out it was for sure a top end that we needed to put in there, which is just a piston and rings. So we ordered that and then reassembled the engine back together and tested it. Now, when we tested it for the first time, it was 2 days ago. So I've been working on this for a while now, and we tested it and it didn't start. And I was just like, well, that's the end of that. It didn't work. So we kept looking further and further into it, and it was just something as little as a spark plug. The spark plug was 4 years old. Just needed changed, and that was that. So after we tested it, put the spark plug, and it fired right up, and it runs good. So here's a short clip of what me and Shane did. Thanks to Mr. Hall, this video is actually 30 minutes long. Just me and him working on this engine in the ag classroom right down here in the hall. We used this engine for an example to kind of show you guys what exactly I had to do to rebuild this engine. We just looked and all that kind of stuff, and Mr. Hall put it on this site called Camtasia. We got to speed it up really quick to where you can kind of see everything that we did, because it's a long process. So we just try to get it as done fast as possible in the video so you guys could see. I'll let you guys do it here.
Only your mechanics worked on your car that fast.
And then here at the end, we take a flathead screwdriver and we're just pulling it out to see. I'll show you here in a second. We're just looking to see if there's any damage to the piston. Right here, we're gonna crack that open and look down in there. You'll see we're looking, but we're just gonna see if there's any damage to the piston. That way we know for sure that the piston is broke on that one. The project itself cost me $148. Now, to me, it was worth every penny because I learned how to rebuild a dirt bike engine. I learned how to do pretty much everything about engines in general, pretty much. So, I mean, it was worth every penny, and it only took me 8 hours of, continuous working time. So it wasn't, too bad. So, and we got one running dirt bike out of the whole deal. So now I have something I can take pride in and say, hey, I rebuilt that. I thought it was pretty cool. And this is the end video of it running, but I think we're having trouble with playing, so go to. And then here's a video of it starting. and that was last night, like 7 p.m. So we got Thank you.
Mine has no fancy videos or anything time-lapse like Aaron's did, but I did my Genius Hour over building a skate park. I guess first I should probably say that my name is Orlando Hatfield. So the problem is that the closest skate park is in Washington, and it's always crowded, and it's really just not big enough to fit the needs of the kids in the area. As you can kind of see in the picture, can't really tell, but it's pretty crowded. It's too crowded to really do anything that can really learn the tricks. And it's built on an old tennis court, and instead of the park being the entire tennis court, it's like a small little section in the middle with like 12 feet of tennis court just surrounding it. So there's really nothing to it. So I chose to build a skate park because skateboarding is a huge passion of mine. I try to do it as much as I can. I ride around town. You might have even seen me riding around town before. And I also think that every kid should have the opportunity to skateboard because it's not really like a school-sponsored sport like football or baseball. So there's less opportunities to do it. And so I feel like every kid should have the opportunity, even if they just start out with a cheapy Walmart board instead of an $80 deck from the skate shop. It still gives them an outlet that's something different that they might not have ever gotten to try before. There's a little kid skating. He's actually pretty famous on YouTube. This is something that I kind of wanted to design. It would be kind of close to what I would like to have. Ideally, I would want my skate park to be about the size of half a football field, give or take. But so what I've done so far is I've designed a 3D skate park with a modeling program on the computer called Tinkercad, which I was actually able to 3D print my model thanks to Mr. Hall and a few of his students. Maybe like pass it around, kind of look at it and stuff. From scratch. Yeah, from scratch actually. That took a few attempts actually to 3D print it. Apparently my design had issues. It didn't like the 3D printer didn't like me too much. I also talked to a couple city aldermen and talked to the city administrator. And as soon as he finally returned my phone call, he shot me down pretty quick. He just told me there was no money in the budget, that it's not going to happen in any time soon unless I raise my own money, which it would probably cost close to like $100,000 to build the type of park that I would want, because I would want it to fit the needs of more skaters than just a specific group. And I also emailed the Street League Skateboarding Foundation, which is, there's a picture of them. So there's a contest called Street League Skateboarding, and they created a foundation a few months ago that builds skate parks throughout the country in areas that maybe can't afford one. And so I emailed them, and they never responded either. So here's a design that you guys are passing around over there. It has a little like a staircase set right there in the middle, which there's trees on that design, but the trees wouldn't print well in the printer, so I had to kind of delete them on that part. But it's kind of designed off of one of the Street League courses that I was just talking about, that competition. The big part here with the staircase and the quarter pipes around it is actually kind of based off one of those, because I thought it was really cool. And then I was hoping to incorporate maybe some vert skating in my design, but that turned out more difficult than it should have been. So what I expected was, I hoped that the design process would be easier and that maybe I could find some spots around town and show like city council, hey, this is where I thought maybe it could go. And actually, Alex had a good idea the other day that the new park that they're building over near Walmart, the Veterans Memorial Park, would actually be a really cool place for one to be, because it's going to be a huge like meeting center that everybody could always go to. So what actually happened is the alderman, like I said no money in the budget. Using Tinkercad was actually pretty difficult. To design one part of the skate park took me like 5 weeks to figure it out. Aubrey knows that. She watched me in frustration for about 5 Fridays in a row. And I couldn't really design everything that I wanted to. But so far, I'm kind of hoping to maybe talk to some more city people this summer. Maybe try to get it in future plans.
Okay, hi, I'm Aubrey, and mine's kind of like Orlando's. We like to build huge things in this class. And I want to build a competition swimming pool. The problem I have is that the only competition-sized pool, which is in Washington at the YMCA, has become extremely crowded, and it's having trouble meeting the needs of everybody without people getting frustrated. It has to meet the needs of water fit classes, 3 swim teams, and swim lessons, as well as also just rec swim. This isn't an actual picture of the pool during swim team practices, but that is what it feels like. So crowded. I chose this because I'm a member of one of the swim teams there. I'm a member of the Fray Penguins, which is the Y swim team, and it's become very hard for us in the past year because Georgia and Washington have both also come up with high school swim teams, so we're sharing the pool with them, and it's very hard for us to come up with time for our practices as well as them to come up with their times for practices. I'm also employed there as a swim instructor and a lifeguard, and being there all the time working, it's also hard for me to find time to do swim lesson, private lessons, and space for the pool with the other lap swimmers, as well as the other swim lessons that are going on. And in the past year, I have gotten many complaints from people because I do work there as a lifeguard. Everybody likes to complain to the lifeguard about things. So then I always hear the complaints firsthand about why people are unhappy with the situation. So what I did was I went to the USA Swimming website and I emailed one of the guys, and he sent me some information, but it was basically just like direct links to like stuff that was on the website that you really had to look for to find. And I looked at like the requirements for all the pools, like how wide the lanes need to be, what the deck like recommendations are for all that stuff, so then I would know about what I would need for area. I talked to my coach, who has a bunch of ideas about pools because he also wants another pool. About where the pool would be. I initially thought that having a pool here would be great because I would love to have a swim team here, and I think other kids who do swim team could be able to benefit from that here. But then I decided that since I was using this as like a Franklin County issue, that it would be better at the YMCA because that's already where a lot of people go, and that's where there's already a pool, so then it can also be utilized there. I looked at the size of the pool, which I'll get more into that in the next slide with my design idea. And then the uses, this pool would be more used for competition and lap swim because it would be kept at a lower temperature rather than the pool that's there now, which is kept pretty hot for the people who do water fit classes and the kids for swim lessons. Also the possible cost. My coach, with his idea, which is a little bit more extravagant than mine, his would said it would cost about $3 million. So, I mean, that's a little bit of an issue there. I learned a little bit about what is needed for building pools. My boss, it has a minor in pool management and stuff, so she helped me out with like what kind of filtration systems are needed, and I learned a little bit more about that. It's basically just pretty much what I thought it would be. Like, it depends on how many people are in your pool, so how gross it's going to be, how often you're going to need to filter it, and how big it is. I also learned about the different kind of materials that you need. I learned that there's a bunch of different kinds of concrete, which I had no clue of, and that pool paint has like rubber in it to make it more waterproof so that then it can stay on the pool longer. My pool idea is I want it to be modeled after Principia College's pool, and it would be a 40-yard pool instead of just a 25-yard one. So then you would have a bulkhead, which a bulkhead is just like a movable wall, which you can see right there. And so then if you want it to be a 25-yard pool from the deep end, then you can have it where it's set up now, and then the shallow end would have the lanes like this, which could be used as like a warm-down pool, which was what it was being used as in this case. But then on the deep end, we will also have diving boards, which would allow for a dive team, or for high school meets, they also have dive teams. And then you can move the bulkhead, which would be like over here, down this way a little bit more. So then the 25 yards would be from the shallow end to, to like right there. And then this part back here would just be used for diving during like high school meets, so then you could get 2 things done at once. I came across some dead ends. First, obviously we need to find more sources of funding if it's going to cost $3 million. You need more support for a pool from the community as a whole. Water sports still really aren't huge around this area, So we need more support from people on that aspect to realize that we do need more space. Grants are a possible option, however, more support is needed with that. I talked to my boss about that, and she said that it's been mentioned, but that was just pretty much a dead end there as well. My expected outcome versus my actual outcome. I expected to express more of a need and get more people on board and find more possible funding options, basically just to get this done faster. I figured just on Cinderella, bippity boppity boo, you got a pool, but it doesn't happen that way. There's not enough people that see the need. Like I said, it's still not really a big idea in this area. And a pool could be built, but I don't expect one to be built or the plans to start coming into effect for another 3 to 5 years. So that's what I did for the past semester. Thank you.
So my name is Alexandria Holmes, and for my passion project, I decided to create Tri-County Career Preparatory Academy. For each of our projects, we obviously all had to come up with a problem that we saw within the community, society, the country. I went more local, and like everyone else did, and what I came up with was there's not really, in our school, I feel as a senior, I could have gotten a lot more prep for college. And so I saw that as kind of a problem. Also talking to my fellow classmates, that was something that they all saw that they could have probably had more support in as well. So my solution was to create a charter school for students to attend during certain parts of the day, kind of like Help Occupations, but it would offer a lot more classes, a lot more different areas for students to study. So our mission and vision. Mission would be, quality education, preparing students for the future. We would do this through providing first-hand experiences. This would be going out, job shadowing, actually going and, being in the businesses with the people all day long, kind of learning if that's something that you would be interested in doing. And then we would also have qualified and caring instructors. We would want them to, be really passionate about what they were teaching. It would be something that they had gone to school for, or they had worked in that field before, so they could really, show the students if this is what you want to do, this is how you're going to do it, and they're really going to be able to relate to them. Also in a safe and supportive learning environment. Obviously, we want the students to feel safe or they're not going to want to learn. Our vision is to help the students plan for their future. Not that high school doesn't do that, because obviously we're getting a great education here. We're going to graduate with our diplomas, be able to go to college. But this is something extra for students to be able to do. It's going to be able to help them see, because a lot of seniors graduate and they're like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And that terrifies a lot of people. So this is something that we could have to help students know what it is they want to do and help them better prepare for their future. We would do this through courses dedicated to specific areas of study. By providing internships opportunities or job interviews after they were done at our school, and helping them find a college suited to their chosen career path. So for our special student populations, we would have sophomores, juniors, and seniors. There would be an application and interview process. For our daily schedule, our sophomores will definitely only attend one session a day, because they are still going to have to get their general education done at the high school. And then the juniors and seniors will have the option of attending one session a day or two. If you're going to go into something like computer engineering, mechanics, things like that, you'll probably be able to get more of your general education classes in, where if you were going for something culinary, because that's more specific, so you're going to be taking more cooking classes, things like that, where those are more not required classes. So you're not going to be able to get your regular general education with those. For curriculum and instruction, we'll be doing things like field trips, job shadowing, internships, research projects. We'll have qualified teachers, specialized coursework, and there will be testing based on area of study. So it's not going to be like standards-based testing like we have here, but they will be tested on their specific areas of study so that we get feedback and we know, you're coming here and you're preparing yourself for the future, but you're also learning something. So how to prepare. This is kind of where I hit my roadblock. I contacted someone at at Four Rivers Center. I talked to the guy who heads everything up there, and I kind of asked him, this is kind of what I'm doing. I know this is kind of what you guys do. We're thinking about going a little bit more in depth with it, and he basically told me it would never happen, and it was a bad idea. And so that was really hard for me. I kind of had to overcome that. Just because he said we would never be able to find enough funding and teachers wouldn't work and things like that. So at that point I kind of had to figure out if I was going to keep doing this or if I was going to, stop and find something else. And I decided to go ahead and move forward with it. But I came up with some things that we could do to kind of help prepare students, because one of our problems would be if students are coming in and they don't know what they want to do, they're going to be changing their area of study over and over again. So from 9th through 7th grades, we would do things at the middle school called exploratory wheels. At the end of every school year, our students and the teachers that were in their classes together would go to the middle schools that all of our students come from, and they would, for 5 weeks, once a week, would go in and they would talk to the students and be like, hey, this is what we're doing in our classes. They would also take those tests that you take, aptitude tests. So they can kind of get an idea for, hey, well, this is what I scored really high in, so maybe I should look into this whenever they come in and talk to us. And then we would also be doing summer academies where students could sign up and come in and they could see what it is actually to be like in one of the classrooms. Some students may not like the atmosphere, so then they would decide, hey, maybe this isn't for me, I could do something else. And then also we would have virtual job shadows where they could come in during the summer academies or sometime throughout the year beforehand before they would apply, and they could virtually job shadow someone else through a job to see if that's something they would be interested in. And then for 10th through 12th grades, we would have an application process, and through this, to also help better prepare them, we would have them do a research paper based on what area of study they want to go into. Because I had to do one in my advanced marketing class, and I started with something, and the more and more research that I did, I was like, I don't know if this is something I'm interested in. So we think that if we do that, that might help them narrow down their area of study. So for the next step, we would be acquiring land for the school. That's not something that we've come up with yet. Contacting DESE for curriculum requirements, obtaining qualified faculty and staff, creating an application, interview, and selection process, and then preparing schedules and specific coursework for upcoming students.
Do this right.
Thank you for allowing them to come speak, guys.
I don't know if they have anything to do with them being in your class, but those four right there are very good speakers. That's what I was
Excellent presentation.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
That was impressive.
So impressive it deserves a paw print now. Good job.
Thank you. I was trying to give you credit.